Sorry to bother. It is time to slowly get back to your seats and get ready for the next talk. So we will give you a few minutes now to recoup. So yeah, slowly. Yeah, Evie, I have no clue what kind of... some little memory for every speaker to have on, I don't know, your desk and so on. All right. Let's continue. So welcome back, and also for our online audience, welcome. Now our next speaker is Neha Joshi from Metacore, who will be telling more about building strong cross-cultural team, because we do know how important it is to have as diverse team as possible to make the best games we can. So, Neha, the stage is yours.
Yes. I'll let Natasha close the door. All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Neha, and I'm here today to talk about how do we build strong cross-cultural teams. I would also try to reflect on my journey during the presentation, so probably we'll try to cite some examples of how I have been in the industry for 13 years and how I've worked with various diverse teams during my time here. But before we go into the actual presentation, a little bit about me. So I started my professional career at McAfee, the antivirus company, as a research scientist for their virus department. So I used to write detections for viruses in the beginning of my career. I did that for a couple of years until I realized it wasn't my calling. And at the same time, a friend of mine had joined Zynga. They had opened up the offices in India, and they were looking for somebody to help out with their QA department. Because I didn't want to code anymore and QA felt like a natural transition, I went and joined Zynga. I was QA for a few months until I moved to production at Zynga. And I was there for the next 3 years before we moved to Finland in 2013. After moving to Finland, I got a job at Ubisoft. They were making another Trials game. I was at Ubisoft for 7 years until I moved to Rovio in 2020. And in December of last year, I decided to leave Rovio and join Metacore in January of this year. Most of the time I've been in the industry, I've been part of production, so that's the craft that's close to me, and I feel quite privileged to be in this craft because you get to work with very different kinds of people on daily basis, so it's something that I really cherish. By education, as I said, I have an engineering degree in computer science, so I am an engineer by profession and by education and a producer by profession. Originally, I come from a small town in the foothills of Himalayas in the Indian state called Uttarakhand. I was born there, I was raised there, I did my schooling and my college graduation also from Uttarakhand. Me and my husband, we moved to Finland in 2013 and have been living here for a decade now. And currently I live in Espoo with my husband and our 2 young kids, daughter Mihika and son Kapir. A little bit about my games portfolio. So I've been here for 13 years. I have worked on different kinds of games. So I started my gaming career with a game called Fishwill. It was a fish breeding game where I started as a QA and later moved into production. And then I worked on Treasure Isle, Empires and Allies, which was a PvP game. And the last game I worked at Zynga was called Castleville, which was a medieval city building game. And all these games were on Facebook. Zynga's presence on mobile was limited at that time, and they were very huge on Facebook. So all of these games were on Facebook. When we moved to Finland, I worked on Trials Frontier at Ubisoft. It was already soft launched and they were prepping for worldwide launch. I joined the live operations team for Trials Frontier. I was on this project for 2 years until 2015 when I was given the opportunity to become the lead producer for South Park Phone Destroyer. And this project was very, very interesting because we were making a game with Matt and Trey, the creators of South Park, not for them. And it meant coordinating with them on a weekly basis, talking directly to them about the game. So it was very, very interesting and huge learning. But also personally, because this was one game where I saw all the phases of game development. So I joined this team when we were in conception. So I was there from conception to production to launch to post-launch. So I was on this game for 5 years until I went on my first maternity. So this is something that's very close to my heart, this game. I came back from my maternity and I decided to go to Rovio. One of my good friend who's here, he recommended me at Rovio and I joined Rovio on Angry Birds Friends, which is their oldest game, but one of their most successful titles. Few months into that, I went on my second maternity and I came back to join Angry Birds Journey, which is their latest launch. And after leaving Rovio in December, I'm currently working on a new game at Metacore. We have not announced it yet, but it's very much in development. Now, delving into the actual topic of today, diversity. What is diversity? So when you start looking for the information of diversity on the internet, it tells you it's inclusion of individuals of different identities, ethnicity, gender, age in the workforce. But these are just visible markers for diversity. Diversity is much more than this. In its broadest sense, diversity includes individuals with varying values, cultural backgrounds, upbringing, extrovert, introvert traits, as well as people with different sort of understanding or perspectives. Thus, by confining diversity solely to these visible markers, I believe we are limiting the genuine essence of diversity. But why is diversity important, or is it even important? When YouTube launched their video upload feature for iOS, they realized that 5 to 10% of their videos were getting uploaded incorrectly. They were getting uploaded upside down. And they found out that their early design was the problem. It was designed only for right-handed users, but phones are usually rotated 180 degrees when held in left hands. So without realizing, they had created a product only for right-handed users. And I think this is one of the simplest yet most powerful example on why diversity in teams are needed if you are creating products for millions and millions of users, why you have to consider diversity at the core of your team foundation. And this is directly from Google's website, one of their blogs, which says, not only is that the right thing to do, but without a diverse workforce, there's a pretty good chance that our products, just like the YouTube video upload feature, won't work for everyone. Now, how about other industries, especially ours, which is very creative? Research has proven that diverse teams are more creative and effective. With their range of backgrounds that allows them to tackle problems with a variety of perspective and potential solution, diversity can lead to a wider range of ideas and approaches, which can stimulate creativity. So diversity in the creative industry is much more than important than it was ever before. The case for diversity in our teams, in our kind of business, is more compelling than ever. We live in a highly digitalized, connected world, and it's a fact that diverse companies build better products, provide better services, and achieve better performance for their employees and shareholders. And ultimately, the companies that tap into this value of differing perspectives are the companies that will really survive and win. And inclusivity is also one of the important considerations when we're talking of creative products like us, the ones that we are creating. And representation is important both to developers and players. And being able to provide that representation can make game teams more connected to the meaning in their work, leading to an increase in motivation and productivity. Now a bit more about the gaming industry. So historically, the gaming industry has been predominantly male-dominated, both in terms of game development and player demographics. Women and minorities have been underrepresented in various roles within the industry, including in game development and leadership positions. And my personal experience with this has been that when I joined Zynga in 2011, Facebook games were like all over the place. They were doing really well. And I was a 90th employee when I joined Zynga, and we had handful of females in the game teams. There were people, females especially, in the support staffs or administrative roles, but we didn't have anyone in the leadership position in the game teams. And then in 2013, when I moved to Finland and joined a gaming company here, the situation was very similar. Out of 30 people in the team, there were 2 females. So irrespective of wherever you were in the world, diversity was not represented. It is getting better as time has passed by, and efforts have been made to make sure that we increase diversity in our teams, but we still have a long way to go. There are various measures that can be taken to help with this, and I think one of the things that can help is start educating young girls or people, young kids at the school level, that gaming is a viable career for them. Encouraging, if they look at role models, diverse people as role models, they know that there's a future for them in this industry, and that's something that can be done. A lot of things can be done at the recruitment level as well. There are nameless resumes that can be put forward. Studies have been done, research has been done in Germany and in US, where people with diverse names get fewer callbacks than their white counterpart. If you take the names and the pictures out of resume, more and more diverse people get interviewed in the company. So a lot of steps can be taken to improve this, but there's still a long way to go there. So what is it like to working with different cultures and views? When I was at Ubisoft, we had 17 nationalities on a team of 50 people. So it was very, very diverse. It was culturally diverse. And as I said, it was, we're not looking at just as visible markers, but we're also looking at invisible markers for diversity. So it was very, very diverse in that aspect. So a lot of discussion used to happen, good discussions used to happen. Personally for me, because I come from India, cultural diversity, I'm at ease with cultural diversity. I'm born and raised in that environment, so that comes naturally to me. So it was never a challenge for me to handle cultural diversity. But then the other forms of diversity were something that I learned on the job quite much when I became a leader on the team. And at that time, something that was very, very clear to me was that I have to be in listening mode as much as possible. Because if you are trying to form a team, if you're trying to create an environment, if you want to foster inclusivity, it's very, very important that you create a culture, you create an environment where people are able to be themselves. You create that psychologically safe environment for them. And when you create an inclusive work environment where all the voices are heard, people feel psychologically safe, there's no fear of failure or there are no wrong questions. They just can be themselves, and that's when they thrive the most. It is also important to have open and transparent communication so that everybody in your team understands where you're headed as a team. We have noticed and seen many times that when there's a fault in communication, and if it's not, there's lack of transparency, it causes a lot of confusion within the teams. So it's very, very important that we are able to have an environment where we could have open communication and we encourage transparency and honest communication from everyone. The other thing that's important is to educate yourself and to learn and to know about what your team members are, like who they are, where are they coming from, what's their background. Because everybody wants to excel at work. Nobody comes to work and says, you know what, I'm going to do a shit job today. So it's very, very important that you try to understand, you talk to your people. Maybe they're going through a bad patch in their life. So it's very important that you have that conversation, you connect with your team members, and you know what they're up to on a daily basis, just so that you can help them out and help them thrive in the work environment. And especially coming from different cultures, it could also come as a surprise to a lot of people when they're moving from different cultures to, for example, let's say Finland, especially when people are moving from more hierarchical cultures to Finland, where the hierarchy doesn't exist, it's pretty flat. So those when you're dealing with people, or when you have people coming from those cultures in your team, you really need to give them an environment and support so that they can be themselves and help them grow in their roles. And last, but maybe not the least, and probably one of the important things to remember, is that you connect with your team on a human level. We are all humans at the end of the day, even though if it's a professional environment, we are all humans. We like to socially connect with each other. We like to have conversations outside work, our hobbies, our family, our pets, or whatever it is. So it is important that as a leader, you are able to connect with individuals on a human level and have those interactions, be approachable, be reachable, so that they can come and discuss important matters with you. And it's important to have fun because we are not in emergency services, we are in games. So it's important to have fun when we are making games, and that only can happen when you have that connection with each other where you can just be yourself. I think other important thing probably that comes with diversity is also on how you handle conflicts. Just because we are different as humans and we have diversity irrespective of culture, ethnicity, even diversity of thought, So there could be conflicts when we work on daily basis together. One of the reasons why it exists is probably also because gaming is a fairly new industry. The roles and responsibilities are not very clearly defined. When you're moving from one company to another, a role would mean something else in one company that it means in the other company. So it's in infancy, but it still is developing, and how it develops roles for individuals. So it could come as a surprise that something means something else somewhere and something means something else when you join a new company. So that's something that can cause confusion, and gray areas, stepping on each other's toes are reasons for conflict. So it's important that you're able to identify clearly the roles and responsibilities in your team, so that everybody knows what they're responsible for, what their role in the team is, and how they can help and support the product succeed and also each other. The other reason for conflict could also be absence of a clear vision. If your team and your organization does not have a clear vision, it could be a reason for conflict. You don't know how to handle different viewpoints, different visions. That's one of the reasons for conflicts. The next one is also the cultural perspective. People coming from different cultures, different understanding of business, different definition of success. That can cause conflict. So it's important that you are able to agree on common grounds. And experiences. When you're making a team, you have seniors, you have juniors, you have people who are not even from gaming, who are from outside gaming. So different experiences can also cause some sort of confusion. So there are various reasons why a conflict can occur in the team. And what you need to do as a leader is how do you address these conflicts? Transparency always helps. So having an open and transparent discussion and seeking resolution that respects everybody's perspective, making sure everybody's voice is heard. There are a lot of people who do not find it comfortable speaking in bigger setting, and you as a leader should be able to identify those people and have a one-on-one conversation with them so that they also feel heard. And once you know what everybody is thinking about a particular situation, just try to agree on common grounds, because there could be differences in opinions in a team, but it's important to identify what are your common grounds, what are the things that works together for you as a team. It's like having a Thanksgiving dinner, and everybody has a different opinion when you're sitting together as a family. There are no wrong or right answers, it's just different opinions. It's how you come together and try to reduce those differences is what's important. And if there are conflicts after that as well, you can always reflect back on your pillars and your goals and the vision that you have set up together as a team. Or if it has come from management, you know there's a vision that you can always reflect and realign with when there are conflicts. And if for some reason the project vision is not very clear, you can always reflect on teams or the company's vision and the statement. And then you can align yourself. So it's important that you create an environment of trust, a psychologically safe environment where people can speak how they feel about a situation and then transparently come to a common consensus. It's a very diverse, yet a very competitive industry. So how do you thrive in an industry like ours? So from my personal experience, I would say confidently seize the opportunity and take steps to get to where you want to be. We all must take chances and risks by learning about areas that we don't know about. And this is also about being brave. When given an opportunity, seize it. I personally have been in situations in my career where I was given an opportunity and it was up to me whether or not I take it or I let it go. There was always this fear of failure, that what if I take it and it doesn't work out? What would happen after that? Am I good enough for this position? But something that keeps coming back to me after this was that I hope I learn something from this, even if it's a failure or a success. I will learn something from this. So be brave, be courageous if you're given an opportunity. Seize it and see what you gain from it. And worst case, if these opportunities do not arise by themselves, have a growth mindset. Make sure that you are always trying to learn and always trying to build your skills. This is something I say quite often because I'm a producer. So it's like, be optimistic but equally pragmatic. When we talk of our features, when we talk of our games, we end up talking of successful features. We always end up talking of successful games, but we don't talk about our failures. Like, so many games get made every year. Not every game makes it big to the market. Not every feature does as well as the other features. So it's really, really important to stay optimistic when you're building something, but also it's good to remember that it might not work out, but we'll give it our best shot and see what can be done in this time frame. So it's important to have that pragmatism with you all the time. As a leader, I think empathy is one of the most important skills that you can have right now. Empathy creates trust. It creates an environment where people can believe in you, people can trust in you, and together as a team, they know that you are there for you as a leader if something happens. So having an empathetic and a flexible leader is something that's really, really important in today's times. Building your network, gaming industry in general is pretty small, and Finnish gaming industry in particular is a very tightly knit group. So make sure you have your network, make sure you know people in this industry who have your back when you need them, during your good times and your bad times. Make sure that you connect with people, you know where you can share your learnings, get feedback. So it's important to network in this industry. And remember that there's a lot that happens at work. There's a lot that happens on daily basis when we are making games. You really have to choose your battles where you engage. There could be discussions where you don't need to participate. There could be discussions you can just ignore and just focus on the most important thing. So personally, at least, I find it very useful that it's good to be oblivious. It's like I just focus on the most important things, and the other things, I'm sure there are other people in the company who can handle that for us. Yeah, so a lot of stuff to say, a lot of things that I've learned during my time here. And of course, this will not all happen at the same time, but taking it one skill at a time, one step at a time, and things do get better. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Neha, so much. So, as already posted on Discord, time for questions, comments, and so forth. So, let's start there. But yeah, before that, how many producers in the house, or at least having a hat or so, like it or not? Yeah, sort of like it can be PTSD stuff as well. So it's like, how many? Nice, good. So let's start.
Thank you. Hey, Neha. So my
Hi,
question is basically, this is a very good outline of how you should be to thrive in the industry. Not everyone receives this information or acts in this way. What is your advice in coming across someone who is maybe not acting in this way and still maintaining your kind of way of thriving in the industry?
I think there's a lot, and for me personally as well, I think I hear a lot of podcasts where you can find this information, even though it's not handy or it's not available. I think there's a lot of information that you can get if you start looking for it on the internet, let's say that. There are, and I think we do have a lot of conferences, gaming conferences, and especially in Finland as well. Like, you don't have to pay for those conferences and come and get this information. So I think there are a lot of modes where you can get this information, even if you're not part of the industry or you're not learning it on the job.
Let me rephrase as well, because I wanted to ask, like, when you come across certain conflicts or maybe other people in the workplace who aren't maybe behaving in certain ways that were conducive to the design or development, obviously you have to maintain this, but also then kind of assert some sort of approach to that person.
Yeah. So personally for me, I also learned it a lot by my mentors and by my guides. When I had discussions, you can always reach out for professional help if you need how you would handle a given situation. We at Metacore at least are fortunate that we have people who we can just reach out to if we have something like that. I think that's one way to do it, that you can reach out for professional help, to just seek advice on how you would handle a given situation. If you have somebody who, because there are situations sometimes at work where you are not the expert on how you would handle it. You really need an expert to give you guidance, or even direct that person directly to the professional help, so that they can get the advice that they need, because we are not skilled professionals to deal with a lot of different kinds of conflicts. So that's one way to do it, but it's mostly about, I think, finding the right help where you could get it, if that answers your question.
Yeah, so it wasn't meant to be a tricky question. It was more that we hear a lot of how people should be, but then I've been caught off guard sometimes when people aren't like that in the workplace or something, and I've not really known how to deal with it, and then over the years just gathered experience of how to handle the situation. Just curious if you had any advice, but yes, that was good. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, Olli Hälikkä from Zoan. Two questions actually. One is from your personal journey, how did you transition from being a programmer to a producer? Was it sort of a did you already know in the early stages of your career that this is something that I want to do in the future, or was it just by accident? And then the second question being about building teams. Don't know how much you're a part of the recruitment process. I assume that you have been. But when building teams and thinking about diversity in those teams, how do you balance the sort of taking the best person, the best applicant for the job, with that conscience mindset of having diversity, if
Yeah.
that makes sense?
Yes, very good questions.
Thank you.
I think the first one was it happened by accident. So I was a QA, and it so happened that Zynga India, how they operated was the games were made in US and they were transitioning games to India for live operations. And at that time, when I was on Fishwell, they were transitioning another game, and they had to move the entire team for transitioning the other game to India. And then there was this opportunity that, hey, can somebody take care of this 6 people team on making sure that they are putting out content on regular basis? And my QA manager came to me 3 weeks later and said, hey, it seems that you like being a producer. Would you like to be one? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, what you are doing, helping out, making sure the release is going out and moving this train forward. Is that something that interests you? Because it seems that you're liking it. And I was like, okay. So that happened by accident, yes. The second question, yes, I'm part of the recruitment process when we are hiring for our teams. And I do pay attention to few things because I don't have to look at the skills. There are experts in the team who can look at the actual skills of who we are recruiting, unless I'm recruiting for production. But what I tend to pay a lot of attention to is how does this person fit the current team? How does this person complement what we have? Are we ending up hiring somebody we already have with similar traits, with similar attitude, or is this person going to bring something new to the team? So that's a very important consideration when I interview people, just to see how that impacts the composition we have. And if there are candidates who are equally skilled, irrespective of their gender, if they're equally skilled or ethnicity, I would always pick the one who's more diverse. Because we want diversity, right? And if they're both equally skilled, then giving them the opportunity so that we also can do better with our product. So I would always pick the person who's more diverse.
Thank you for those. Any other questions? And also, yes, we have here, but also do post in Discord if you don't want to put your hand up.
Yeah, my question is actually a follow-up to that last question and the answer you gave. A lot of applicants are not going to be equally talented or equally qualified. Talent is not the right word. Equally qualified. They might have the same level of talent, but not the same level of credentials when they're applying for a position because of opportunity blocks for diverse candidates.
Yes.
How do you navigate that specifically?
It's a tricky one, but I think it's what's important to also notice during the interview is the mindset, how growth oriented and how much the person is willing to put into a role. It really can come across during the interviews. You know, if somebody who has the growth mindset, even if the person is not very qualified, do you see the potential in that person to grow into a role? And that you can gauge that during the interview process as well. And at least I personally have ended up hiring a couple of people who I felt were junior for the role, but we knew they could grow into this role, and they really did grow into that role. So you have to really pay attention and ask questions which can reflect on this side of their personality.
Here we have one more question.
Hi, Neha. Thank you. I worked with Neha. She's wonderful. She's great to work with as a leader of the team. To that question up there, it's turned on. Okay. I would also say, and this has been brought, I've been in the DEI group for a little bit over a year now in Rovio. Things are changing soon, but what I would say too around when you look at your candidates, even a candidate with less maybe skill currently where they're at versus someone with slightly more, look at the journey they took to get to where they are. I think that's just as important, because someone who's been through more challenges, more diversity in their experiences, maybe with less talent at that moment, I would most likely tend to give the job to, because I know what they've been through to get where they are. And that is just as important to see that their possibility for growth is probably maybe even more than the other candidate. So really, when you're interviewing, know where they've been, their experiences, what brought them to where they are. This was brought to my attention as the old white guy who only knows my view. When I talk to women in games, when I talk to them about, I would tend to hire a woman with slightly less skill just to balance things out in the long run. And then someone pulled this out to me and they said, well, you should hire her because she's been through more hell and more effort to get where she is than that guy has. So that was kind of eye-opening for me and gave me a different perspective that I don't think most white men are aware of the challenges, the effort, the struggles, however you want to view it, for people of different backgrounds, different cultures, different identities, neurodiversity challenges. Where they get to where they are with those is amazing. So consider that when you're hiring. Thank you, Neha. To support what you were
Thank you,
talking
Tim.
about.
I mean, to also support a bit, because not everyone is privileged or to be in a place to even get an opportunity for an interview in a bigger studio. So one thing, what I do usually with my students, I tell them also when you're just starting out or you don't have this sort of credits back to support, even that you're incredibly talented and so on, because again, you need to show behind. Join smaller or mid-sized teams first. Try different things. Put different hats on. Do that experience. Go through the trenches, because this is where you will also figure out, not just like, you will figure more about yourself also, what you want to do, like programmer to producer, or in my team also, programmer became 3D specialist. I went to school to be a programmer, became a 3D specialist because found own place in that different even discipline. So this is something just to add as well, because in smaller teams, indie teams and so on, recruitment is extremely important to have this mindset and diversity, because we compete with the giants out there, and therefore we need all the power of the creative mind above the money. So that's kind of the thing that I just want to add. Any other questions for Neha? I have one. And I'll be nice, I promise. Because I have way too many scar tissues as leader and producer and whatnot. But in your experience, throughout like your career, anything, or if you have any anecdote, or if you have anything that you wish could be done differently, like with this knowledge now, is there anything that really like you would do differently in your day-to-day work, especially, let's say, as a producer, as a leader, or anything that comes to your mind that you wish to share as a kind of like the pain point that you would definitely not, now you would know better.
Yeah, for my personal experience, I would say believe in yourself. Like, believe in yourself that you can do it, you have it in you, and just take the chances. Like, I think there were some times when I really doubted my skills and where I could go. So if I were to do things differently, I would tell Neha of 2011 that believe in yourself, this is going to work out.
Excellent. And with that, we shall end this session. Thank you, Neha, so
Thank
much.
you.
She is here as well for it, so please do continue